Hi, everyone. Hang in there. I know that probably your heads are spinning positively, of course, with all the amazing content that we have seen today. So, hopefully, I can add one interesting moment to your day. I really hope I can do that. Let me start with showing pictures that we have seen a lot today and that we see a lot of in our everyday life, because every day we are surrounded by physical products. We are very used to see pictures of overconsumption, pictures related to fast fashions, picture related to the amount of electronic waste that we have in the world, or pictures related to islands of plastic floating in the ocean. I think this is something that has been very much in the public discourse lately. But what I would like to discuss with you today for the next about 15 to 20 minutes is also the fact that we are surrounded by digital products. So from the moment that we wake up in the morning to the moment that we go to bed, and even when we sleep, if you use a sleep tracking app, for example, we are really surrounded by digital products. And I've recently read a report that talks about, the average time that we spend in front of a screen for work and for personal life. And in Q4 2023, they said that the average time spent in front of screens from an average user worldwide is about 6 hours and 40 minutes, which is quite a significant amount of time. It's definitely comparable to the amount of time that, for example, we spend in our jeans, for example, during the day. So let me show you some more stats, which I was very baffled to read. Apparently, more data was created between 2017 and 2019 than in the rest of human history, which is quite a big statement to make. And I know that it's also probably open to interpretation, but I think the fact that since the interest was born and we started using digital products in our life, we started to generate data way more exponentially than ever before. It's definitely something that we can all relate to. And in 2023, 120 zettabytes of data were generated, and this has been expected to increase by over 150% in 2025, hitting 181 zettabytes. So now you're probably wondering, what is a zettabyte? And so I looked it up, and 1 zettabyte is 1 trillion gigabyte, which I'm not a technical person. I cannot even comprehend this type of magnitudes from a technical perspective, but it definitely sounds a lot. Some more facts. Digital is apparently the fastest growing energy consuming sector. I had a conversation earlier today with a couple of people, and we were also talking about the CO2 emissions of data centers that are all over the world, and how is that comparable with other things like, for example, flying, etc., etc. And definitely, the emissions generated by the digital world is expected to become one of the main, if not probably the main contributor to energy usage and energy consumption in the years to come. So I want to raise a question, since we have been talking a lot about overconsumption and overproduction of physical products, and our lives are surrounded by physical products, yes, but also by digital products. I want to raise a question whether maybe it's also time to start discussing not only the mass production of physical products, but also the mass consumption of digital products and what that actually means for all our lives. Little side note, my name is Mariagiulia, as Hello already said. I work at Django Minds, a digital innovation company based in Amsterdam. We do mostly user-centered driven design, and I have a business background, and then throughout my career, I did a lot of roles related to products and service development and innovation, business innovation and digital innovation. And before starting working in design and in the digital domain a few years back, I had a work experience in somewhat of a relatively niche segment. Now, who wants to take a wild guess of how are these pictures related? It's a very long shot, I know. So these are pictures of equipment, assets. There's a huge MRI scanner, forklifts, drilling machinery, and carpet tiles that are used at offices. And these are all physical assets, equipments that I worked on as part of a previous job to basically be sold mainly in a B2B context, so original equipment manufacturers that would sell these products to other businesses, so for example, fleet of forklifts to a large client. And I was working on how can we enable to sell this equipment on a pay-per-use model. Why? Because selling this type of equipment, but in general, everything we see it in the B2C segment as well, for example, with subscription models, selling assets on a pay-per-use model is one of the steps that we can take to, well, foster a circular model and not a linear one, because if you sell a product, then you don't see that coming back anymore. If, for example, you lease a product or you rent a product, you have the opportunity, if the original equipment manufacturer has set it up in that way, you have the opportunity to take that asset back, to refurbish it, and maybe even take it apart and remanufacture it and give it a second life and maybe a third life. So I want to talk a little bit about what I've learned during this experience related to circular economy and the world that I live in now. But let me give you another number first. A recent report from Circle Economy Foundation, they release this kind of report every year. Very, very interesting, by the way. I definitely suggest you to have a look if you're interested. Says that our world is only 8.6% circular. And what does that mean is that basically over 91% of the resources that we use during the production of those physical products are still wasted. And you'd be surprised how much of a difference it is between, for example, the B2B world and the B2C world. It sounds very discouraging as a number, but the positive thing is that in recent years, more and more organizations have really not just actively talked about how can we start doing things more circularly and how can we apply circular economy principles, but really actively creating best practices, putting them in practice in their work, and also creating concrete tools and strategies that we can use and we can take into account. So I want to share with you, for example, one framework that is basically referring to circular strategies that we can apply. This was mainly conceived to be a framework that can be applied to the production of physical products. And these strategies basically are on a spectrum, as you can see. So all these strategies relate to how can we make our production and our design more circular, but clearly the strategies that are lower in the spectrum are still strategies that are already a very great first step, but they still relate and rely on more of a linear type of model. While the more you move up in the spectrum, the more you see strategies that really relate to how can we start more fundamentally rethinking the way that we create products, the way that we design, and the way that we think about how they're going to be used in the world. The top 3, for example, really talk about how can we reduce the waste and reduce the consumption of materials, for example, during the production process. Then how can we rethink the way that we design? So how can we design more modularly so that we can take those equipment or these assets or these physical products apart more easily? And thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you.